Welcome back to day 23rd of the course. Today we will cover quite a bit of advanced tools. So we will be dealing with subdividing and sculpting. So I will explain 4 different extensions, and within that extension there are multiple options of sculpting. So basically you can start with those extensions and we will be able to sculpt any shape out of them. Okay, so let's start with the extensions. So the first extension which we are going to cover is called Curviloft. Okay. So Curviloft is not exactly a sculpting extension, but we can use it for sculpting. It kind of creates meshes, or it connects different cross sections, somewhat similar to the sandbox tool, but way more advanced than that. So let's go and open the Curviloft. So we have Curviloft here. So it has got 3 main options. First one is loft by spline or loft by shape. Okay, so I've got some cross section. So let's understand that. Let's see that we have to create, let's say, a building which has got a square plan at the bottom. Then it changes and transforms to a circular plan at the midway, and then on the top it will transform into a triangular form. Okay, so if we want to connect them and with a gradual transformation, so I will go and select the Curviloft, and we need to select the edges. That is one shape. It has selected. It has recognized this as a single shape. Now we will select the second shape and then the third shape. Okay, and I can now go on and click OK. And as you can see that Curviloft will give us a preview of how the final output might look like if we continue this. So there you can see we have started from the square plan and gradually it got transformed into this circular plan, and then on the top we have the triangle. So it has connected all of them and it has calculated the transformation and the points that will be in between. Okay, now there are several other ways where we can explore this, like how the connections will be done. So first one is straightforward. So that means it will connect all the points, but it will connect it using straight lines, no curve here in this one. Then we have few options for curves. Then we have more curve options, as you can see, and this one will try to create perpendicular junctions at the points. So accordingly the curve will vary. Then we have more general flowy curve kind of thing, and these are like Bezier curves which may not directly go through the points, but these points will be taken as reference only. So let's go with one of these and click on OK. So we can tick here and OK, complete the command. But before completing, let me explain few more options here. So we have some segments. We can increase the number of segments, and we can increase the number of interpolation. Now it will not work in this case. That means the number of connections, it depends on the number of segments that are connected. So in case we have limited number of segments, then we can increase this interpolations. It will not show up in this case. So let's keep it to 5. And let's go and see this VX matching. VX matching means how the vertex are matching. So this one will make and try to connect the vertex as whenever it's possible, and depending on different types of models we will have different results. So in this case we don't see much differences, but I will show you other examples where it will be more clarified. Then what kind of geometry do we want? We want the entire mesh, or do we just want the lines connecting only the vertical lines, or connecting the loops, or just the loops and not the vertical lines. Okay, so it is up to us what kind of geometry we are looking for, or we want only the mesh. So let's go with the mesh and create the geometry. Tick. And thus you can see that we have this shape created as a group by connecting these three basic shapes. This is how we had created. Now let's go ahead and create another one. Here we have the circle as the base and an elongated rectangle as the top. Okay, so I'm going to connect these two only. Now this time I also have the faces. Now it doesn't matter whether we select the faces or directly the edges. I have kept the faces just to demonstrate that it is much easier to select a rectangle if we have the faces. So let's go and pick this face and pick this face. So we have selected the object by the single click again. Okay, let's click outside, and we have got the connection. And let's try and explore with these. Now you can see that with different options we have different ways of connectivity. Now again, let's see how these two works. It will try to project it perpendicularly from both the shapes, that means from this shape as well as this shape, and gradually merge them. Okay, so try and explore these points, and let's see if we increase the number of segments. Simplification, already the shapes are quite simplified, and interpolation will work on one of the other examples. Then we have vertex matching. Again, we have automatically we have the vertex that are already matched. Now let's see another option here. In this case, for that I'm going to, within the preview, I'm just going to click on the preview directly. Click it. Now we have a small window where we can see the preview, and in this one we have further options like increasing the number of segments, which is the same as this one, vertex matching, and these two are new options, as you can see. Let's change this one. So as you can see, we are having some offset from the center. So this one is going to create offsets based on the segment. So that means earlier this segment was connected somewhere here. Now it got shifted by 7 segments. Okay, so by 7 segments it got shifted, and we can also change this, the angle. We can create twists, and let's complete the function. And as you can see that we have a twist going on, and we have also created the geometry like this. Let's see the hidden geometry, and it will be much more clear in that case. So we can see the hidden geometry and how the geometry is created. Now a few more examples of the curvy loft. Now curvy loft depends on how we select the points. So if I pick this point and then pick this one and this one and this one, let's say, accordingly it has picked this one as the first, then second, then third and fourth. So it will try to connect 1 with 2, then with 3, then with 4. So it is very important to select them in a proper sequence based on the type of result you are looking for. If I tick them, as you can see, from this one it tried to connect the second one, the third one and fourth one. So if that is not the result you are looking for, you will escape from the command, and let's pick them in proper sequence. Pick this, the second and third and the fourth, and let's continue with this. Now you can see that we have a better result. And let's go again with the perpendicular option, where we have the curves bit more perpendicular, and in this case you will be able to see the vertex in a much better way, the vertex matching. Now as you can see that a circle and a hexagon will not have equal number of vertex, right? So for that it will try to match the vertex from one point to the other. Now we can also manually move the vertices. We want this one. We can move the vertices. Okay, as you can see from here, to this point, and get a different kind of result if we are looking for that kind of effect. Okay. And there is, let me delete this and continue with the same tool with the same features. And if we want, we can also create a loop. That means by clicking this icon, it will create a loop of the entire shapes if it is able to create a loop in that case. And let's go with this. Now we have created some kind of loop geometry. Now this is not limited to curved only to faces. We can also extrude lines. I mean, we can also loft lines. So let's start with this shape, and I'm going to pick this one first, then this one. I'm going to pick, sorry, this one first, then second, third, and fourth. Let's see. Okay, I've got it right, and we have got something that is like a chair. Now, this cross section or the lines, you should understand how this is going to work. This is for a chair, so it may not be the same in or depending on the type of object you are looking to create. But you can connect lines and connect them in proper sequence and get results like this. And once you get the results, you get the face. So we have just a face. You can extrude that with the help of the joint push pull. By using joint push pull, we can extrude the faces by, let's say, 5 mm and complete. Now this has also got a thickness of 5 mm. We have some issues here. We could have fixed that by increasing the number of segments while creating the geometry. Now that is curve loft using the loft by spline. And this is a very powerful tool, although there are 3 different tools only, but within each tool there are multiple options and you can create different types of results using that. So let's now see how we can create extrusion by extrusion using a path, along a path. So let's create a shape first, and I will create a path of, let's say, an arc. This will be for the guidance, and I'm going to create an arc. Okay, this is just for guidance. I will remove this, and on the top let's have a circle like this. Now first we need to select the arc, then the path, then we will go to the curve loft. Cannot be interpreted correctly. Empty the selection. No, I don't know why. Okay, let's click on the shapes, put the shapes and continue. And if you see that we have projected it along the arc, but if this is not the result you are looking for, then you can click on this option, and thus you have the loft from a hexagon to a circle, but along the path which you have specified. And you can also pick other options. This one will be more appropriate in this case. And we can have twists also if you are looking for twists, but this will not provide us very good results, it seems. Okay, we have some twists, but we also have some conflicts because of the path, that is. Anyways, you can try and practice these different tools. This is again going to be very helpful. You can also connect edges with the shapes. That means with the path, if we have the edge, then we can create a path and you can extrude along the path also. Okay. Next up is the skin tool. Now this skin tool is somewhat similar to the soap skin bubble tool, which we had already explored, but it has got some additional features. So let's check this tool as well. I'm going to draw some lines along the lines of different heights. Okay, so I'm going to draw a few arcs to connect these. Now, in order to use any kind of skin tool, you must have a form. It may not be on the same axis. That means it can be on different axes, but it needs to be a closed form. That means if the form is open from one side, then the skin tool may not work. So I mean, it will not work. So any kind of for any kind of skin tool, you need to have a form. So this is a form. Now you can see that this has got it is going on different direction, different axis. One is going on towards top, and we have some curve along this. But this has to be a closed geometry. Now SketchUp will never be able to create a face because they are not aligned on this. We can use sandbox, but that will not give us any good result. Soap skin bubble will give us a skin, but the way they connect the lines are different. So let's go with skin contour. Create a skin. As you can see that it has created the skin, and we can increase the number of interpolation, and number of sampling is not going to work. Depending on the vertex, again, we can specify the curve, how curvy this will be, or we need straight lines. Let's go with this, and okay, now we have the skin for this. Now soap skin, let's go with this shape, and do we have soap skin here? Soap bubble, and we can create a skin with this, and click up, press enter. Now this also has got a skin. Now this skin is a little bit different from the other one because of the way they have been created, and we can also apply the bulb soap skin to get kind of similar results. So sometimes this will work better, sometimes the soap skin will work better to create skins. It is up to you how you prefer to proceed with this. Okay, in case you haven't noticed, I used the soft smooth tool of JHS Power Bar to soften the edges. I can unsoften them or soften them by these two icons. Okay, so that's curvy loft for us. Keep soap bubble as well here. The next tool is going to be a more dedicated sculpting tool, which is called the artisan tool. Let's keep it on. So we have the artisan tool. Again, it has got a bunch of very useful tools. So we are not going to cover in detail with all of them, but let me give you a demonstration for the basic idea of the tool. So let's start with a simple cuboid. Let's start with a plane first. So we have a plane or a face, and in this one, this tool is used to subdivide the face. That means we are going to divide the face into multiple smaller faces. Okay, so this is the subdivide option. So if I click on subdivide, if I go to turn on the hidden geometry, okay, it is creating subdivisions. Okay, we have the hidden geometry on. We can go on creating subdivisions as many times as we want. So this tool will be handy if you want to create subdivisions. Let's create a rectangle and let's see why we want to create subdivisions. Okay, so we can create subdivisions and more divisions and more and more. And we can go on and on, but don't go overboard with this, because the more the number of lines and faces, the heavier the file will become. So subdivision is important in case you want to sculpt something out of this. Okay, so let's start with basic sculpting. We had seen the out of the sandbox tool, we had seen that there is a sculpting option over there also. Let's turn on the sculpting, the smooth tool in this one, which is this one. Yeah, the smooth tool will help us in sculpting. We have a similar tool here, but it is a little bit more advanced, and we have multiple options to add more details and less details as well, which is the sculpt tool or the brush sculpt tool. Now I can use my left and right arrow key to increase or decrease the radius, or I can also go ahead and type in a radius of my choice. And I can use the up arrow key and the down arrow key to change the direction of sculpting. That means if I want to pull a certain part from here, then I will use this option. If I want to push something, then I can use the and reverse direction, that is. So the advantage here is that I can click and drag and start sculpting. Okay, that is the first advantage. So we can start sculpting like this, and it is not just on faces. You can also sculpt on this kind of geometry. So if I explode it, so make sure you are working on the innermost level. If I go ahead and sculpt this, you can see that we can sculpt on any geometry where we have subdivisions. So we can sculpt inside this and do any kind of sculpting. Okay, so let's go ahead with this shape only. Now, don't make any selection. If you have selections, then sculpting will only happen on the selected objects. Rest of the objects will not be selected. So let's deselect everything, and then we can start on going with the sculpting tool. Then inside the sculpting brush, if we right click somewhere, you can see there are lots of options. Let's select the smooth option this time. Okay, so if I use the smooth option, then instead of pulling and pushing the faces, it will only smoothen up the rough corners, that is. It will start smoothening the faces. And if I click on pinch, then it will start pinching on one direction. If I select on the other one, you can see that it is pinching the points, and it will create a much sharper point. So as you can see, so these will be helpful if you are dealing with contours or if you are dealing with any kind of organic geometries. So this is the sculpting brush. Then we have more options for subdivision and smoothing of objects. So let's see in this case. So if we want to smoothen this even further, then we have the option to smoothen the selection. If I click here once, you can see that things have become much more smoothened. Okay, and if I click again, then it will become smooth, even more smooth. And if I go on clicking, then this will become more and more smooth. Okay, so taking example of this one, it has got very huge divisions, and also it has got very rough terrain. If we want to have some smoother surfaces, then we can click on smooth selection, or I can subdivide and smooth at the same time. So I will go ahead with the first option there, which says subdivide and smooth. So if I click on subdivide and smooth, you can see that it has subdivided as well as smoothed the surfaces. And if I type in 2 iterations, that means it will repeat the process 2 times and we will get even a better result. So if let's go ahead with this 2 iterations and enter. Now you can see that even though the original shape was very rough and crude, we have now got a very smooth terrain. So that way we can add more details, we can add more smoothing on contours, and this is not limited to contours. Let me show you what I mean by that. Let's say we have this rectangle or this cube. Okay, so make sure you are working on the root level. That means we don't have any groups here. And if I click on subdivide and smooth, it will be subdivided and also at the same time smoothed into a round shape. So if I increase the number of iterations to, let's say, 2, then we have more details. If I change it to 3, we have even more details. And if I click outside, sorry, I had to press enter. Let's go with this 3 iterations, enter, and the process will be done. Okay, so if we don't want this kind of shape from a cuboid, then we can also go ahead and add more details to our cuboid. So let's say we need to have some kind of offset here and move this to this direction and push it downwards, and now select all of them and click on subdivide and smooth with 3 iterations and enter. Thus we have a very simple looking but yet very complex geometry of maybe a top of a bar stool. Okay. And we can have created with literally with just single button. Okay, so you can, if you imagine the shape and if you want to create something like this, it is actually very, very easy if you use the subdivide and smooth option. So let me again show you another example of the same. We have a base, and let's say we have cross section like this. What I'm trying to do is trying to create a tray using this tool. So I'm going to use the follow me tool to create the basic shape. Okay, this is the shape I was looking for. Now I'm going to select everything and click on subdivide and smooth, increase the number of iterations and increase the number again, 3 iterations, enter and enter again. And we have something like a tray here. And you can go ahead with this tool to create maybe a bathtub or even a bowl or even some kind of organic shapes using the subdivide and smooth tool. Now again, it depends on the basic shape. So if I have the shape similar to the original, similar to the chair which we had created, but we have some more divisions here. So to create divisions, I'm going to go with orthographic projections, and here we have a knife option. As you can see, the knife subdivide, and what we can do with the knife tool is that we can create more subdivisions, and this subdivision will be through and through. That means if I click cut here, this cut will be continuous to the other direction as well. So that's why I'm using it in the orthographic tool, orthographic projection. So let's pull this downwards, and if we have more subdivisions, then what will happen is that then we will get a different result. That means the curve will not be as prominent as we had in this case, because the curve will be limited by the subdivisions. So let's select everything and go with the subdivide and smooth. Go with 3 iterations and click outside, double click outside. As you can see that this time we have a very different result because we had the subdivision limited by the knife tool. Okay. And there are other options to paint as well. You can select material and start painting on these kind of surfaces. Select the face that needs to be painted. Okay, you have the face, then the paint. Select the material that is on your model material. Now I can start painting on the faces. So this might be helpful if you don't want to paint an entire face directly, and if you want to have different shades somewhere, then you can start with the painting tool as well. So next up is using the similar tool, which is called subd. So we have the subd tool, which stands for subdivide, and that will also help us create similar kind of effect, but in a very much more, we have got some more flexibilities on that tool. So let's turn the subd toolbar on, keep it here floating. So let's see and start with a rectangle or a cuboid. And if I select this, now subd is applicable only in groups, only on groups. So you cannot apply it on the root level, as opposed to the subdivide and smooth of the artisan tool. So we need to create a group first, group or a component, that is. And if I click on subdivision on and off, so we had turned the subdivision on, and I can increase the number of subdivisions similar to the number of iterations in that case. So by clicking this icon several times, I had clicked 2 times, and we have this icon, this tool, I mean the shape. So the benefit of using subd is that you can turn it on and off. So at any point, if you want to make some changes to the original shape, you can just go ahead, make some changes, and again select the cuboid or the group and click on the subd icon. And thus you can see that we have the changes, but at the same time we also get the organic geometry. So let's turn it off and let's add some more divisions and pull this on the top, and again turn this off. So that way we can try and practice. I mean, by practice I mean that with the help of trial and error, you can derive up to a shape which might be helpful. Click again on subd, and we have this organic shape. Now it has got more flexibilities. By that, what I mean is that if I click on the crease tool, there is a crease tool here, and go inside the group. We need to go inside this, go select the crease tool, and we can pick certain edges, right? So if I double click here, we can pick faces or edges where we can modify the amount of curve which we want. So let's say we want less curve along this. So I'm going to select here and modify this to this level. So we are sculpting it, but we are also modifying the shape. As you can see, we have this flexibility as well. And click outside. And at any point of time, if you want to change the original model, then you can go ahead and turn off the subdivision and start adding more details to it. So let's create a couch similar to this using the subd tool. So let's have our couch of 800 by 800 and push pull this to a certain height and give it a offset, and move this one to the other side so that we have something like this. And I'm going to make some changes so that we have a different type of chair this time. Move this one a little bit downwards. So this is the basic shape which I have. Now we need to convert this into a group and apply sub D onto the group. So I have applied the subdivision, and we can increase the number of subdivisions by 1 or 2, and thus we have the basic shape. So let's say we need to increase the area of the seating. So I'm going to go inside the group, pick the crease tool, double click here, and increase this a little bit until we are satisfied with the shape. And similarly, if we want a base, we will be increasing this so that we have our shape as per our need. And click outside and finish our tool. Now you can also turn off the edges to see whether you have got the result which you are looking for or not. Now we can go on adding more details using the sub D tool, as well as using the crease tool, and also modifying the original shape. And ultimately you will get the shape which you are looking for. So again, this is another very powerful tool. Now, there are further options like creating push pulls. Now this push pull is different from standard push pull because it doesn't create the faces that are inside the shape. So let me just demonstrate this. So if we create these kind of object, let's say, and if I create a push pull from here, we have the lines, but we also have an extra face. So let me repeat this with the other push pull. We have this push pull. Let's push pull this with the normal push pull this time, and from here I'm going to use this push pull, which is kind of the copy push pull. But if we do the copy push pull, then the difference will be that if I cut a section, then there is no face in between, right? So we have only the, if I go to working, you can see that we have a face in case of our SketchUp push pull, which is left out, and in this case we don't have the original face, only the edges at the corner. Now why this is useful and important is because if we apply sub D to these, to both of them, we will get different results. In this one we have got a result like this. In the other one we will get results which is a bit different, because it will start pulling the face inside, will start pulling the geometry towards this. Okay, so it will be more clear if we have more faces. Using this. So what happens is the faces that are inside will start pulling this part towards inner side. So in that case we get some unwanted results, like in this case at the corner we have got some pulling effect here, but on the other one we don't have the pulling effect, right? So it's up to you whether you want to use this one or not. So that was sub D, and also explore the options for sub D. Here we have quite a few options here. Now next up is again a very powerful tool. We will explore more of this tool in our coming classes as well, but I will give you an introduction to this. It is more of a simulation tool than a sculpting tool. So this tool is called ClothWorks. So let's dock this here and let me go turn on the ClothWorks. ClothWorks helps not only in simulations but also for sculpting. So today I'm going to explore, demonstrate you a brief idea about the tool, because we will run out of time if we cover this in detail. It has got way too many options. So let's start with the basic tool only, understanding of ClothWorks. Now ClothWorks is kind of a plugin which simulates real life simulations of clothes, and not only clothes but also with any kind of thread or wires or even curtains, kind of flowing curtains or cushions and so on. So let's try to create a cloth. Okay, so we have got a basic rectangular shape, which is a face, and we will convert this into a group. So we need to convert this into a group, only then we can specify this as a cloth. So I'm going to right click, go to ClothWorks and make it into a cloth. Okay, so now this has been recognized as a cloth, and we need to add some subdivisions. Okay, now this is very important, otherwise the cloth will not behave as a cloth but as a simple rectangle. So we need to add some ClothWorks, some subdivisions. Go to ClothWorks, and under cloth I'm going to apply adaptive grid. Okay, so adaptive grid is kind of a grid which adapts with the requirements of the cloth. That means it is kind of an efficient way to add grids. Now you can subdivide using this subdivision tool also. You can create your own subdivisions by using the mesh tool of this one that you can create with this option also. It's up to you. These are just basic subdivisions. The only thing is you need to convert this into a cloth. So we have the subdivisions and we have converted this into a cloth. Now I'm going to mark this as a collider. So we will have a collider. So let's right click on this, go to ClothWorks and make sure that it becomes a collider. So we have a collider and we have a cloth. And if I just click on play from the ClothWorks toolbar, and you will see that it will start falling down as if it is falling down due to gravity. And at the point where it intersects the collider, it will start wrapping around the object as if it were a real cloth. So this is the real life simulation of a cloth. Now we can add properties to the cloth. That means we can control how much, what will be the density of the cloth. Then we can control the elasticity of the cloth depending on what kind of cloth we are using. And we also have certain presets. So I will explain this once this simulation is complete. So again, as you can see, we had applied a adaptive subdivision. That means wherever it requires more division, it will automatically have more subdivisions, and wherever it requires larger subdivisions or less subdivisions, then it will automatically adjust to that. And once the simulation is done, I'm going to click on stop. And thus we have the cloth here. It will be much more cleaner on the other view. As you can see, this looks as if the real cloth is wrapped around with this sofa. Okay, so but let's explore certain features of the ClothWorks. I'm going to again create a rectangle, and this time this will be a vertical rectangle. Move it upwards. Okay. And I'm going to go I'm going to double click this, make it into a group, convert this into a cloth, cloth work, make cloth. Then I'm going to use the subdivision tool of cloth work to create an adaptive subdivision. I'm going to go with the standard values only. And this time I'm going to go and turn on the UI of ClothWorks. This is the setting for the ClothWorks. Now we have different settings for the colliders and clothes, and this is a total overall global settings for the plugin itself. That means these two options are for the selected object. So if we have this cloth selected, then we will have those options for this cloth. If we have the other options set, other cloth selected, then we will get this selection for this. And for the collider, we need to select the collider, and we will get the properties of the collider. So let's go with this. And I'm going to create this into a flag. So let's go ahead and go to the simulation, and let's convert this to a preset by giving it a preset to a cotton cloth. So if I click on cotton, then the density, thickness, friction, stretch, everything will be automatically adjusted for cotton cloth. And under simulation, you can see that we have a gravity value of 9.8. That means this cloth was falling because we had a gravity. Now this time I am going to turn off the gravity, and instead I'm going to have some wind value. Okay, so let's turn on the wind value and start the place selection. Now it will give me a warning that do you want to select all the clothes on the drawing or just the one that is selected. I'm going to click on yes, so that I pick only the one that is selected. Now I'm going to move the wind direction. Now as you can see that we don't have any point from where this will be fixed, and the cloth is now carried away by the wind, right? It is now carried away by because of the wind on the x-axis. So let's stop the simulation, and this is our cloth which is being carried away. So I'm going to undo several times so that we have the cloth back. And this time I'm going to hold on one side of the cloth with a pin. So we have certain pins here. So this is the pin, and I'm going to drag it on the direction which I'm going to hold. Let's have 3 or even 5 pins. Okay, so we have 5 pins holding the flag this time. So now I'm going to select this again, and keeping the wind and gravity 0, and keeping wind on x-axis around 11 only, let's say, and start play. And again I'm going to simulate on only this flag and this cloth only. So now you can see that this pin is holding the cloth at these points, and even though the wind is trying to carry this away. So let's have wind on some other direction as well, a little bit towards the other direction, and you can see that our flag is now flowing. So you can create curtains like this if you have if you can have pins from the vertical direction, and you will be able to create this kind of effect. And let's close the simulation, and we will have a snapshot of the cloth built fixed into our model. So that's how we can simulate clothes and also fix clothes as well. Now sculpting part using cloth will take some time, so we will cover this in tomorrow's session. I hope we had already covered quite a lot of sculpting today, but this is going to be very fun with the cloth simulation. So let me give you a few more examples of cloth for today. Let's have a vertical connection, like vertical face like this, And this time, instead of pins, I'm going to use my own pins or colliders. So I'm going to right click on this, convert this into a float. We need to make it into a group first. Only then we will see the option of float works. Make it into a float. And after we make it into a float, we can subdivide this into adaptive subdivisions. And this time I'm going to use a rectangle, let's say a cuboid in that case. So this will be our pin. Pull this on all the directions. Make sure there is some, at least some overlaps on all the directions. And convert this into a group and right click. Float works. I can make it into a float and make it into a collider or even a pin. So let's make it into a pin in this case. And again, convert this into silk, let's say, and under simulations, we will have simulation only on y-axis, let's say, and start playing. Let's reduce this a little bit. And you can stop this and have your flowing curtain effect. How we can apply materials to these? Yes, materials we can apply by clicking on this icon. First we need to unwrap this, then go with the material tool. Let's apply some fabric material on this. It's the fabric material, pick a fabric material and apply, and then unwrap this. And you can see that the material is also applied on our clothes. Similarly, in this one, if I apply the material after the drape, then you may get some kind of unwanted results, as you can see. So the best thing is not to apply material like this. Unwrap this and apply the material and then wrap it. In that case, you will get better results, but you're not getting better results in there. So let's go and apply the material inside the face, and let's see if we now get the material. Yes, we got the material right this time. Okay. Even the materials are wrapped around, okay, along with the cloth. So that will be all for today. So I hope you have learned the sculpting tools, and these are very exciting tools. I really love all of these tools, and please try and explore them. There are lots of options within each one of them. You can explore by yourself, and if you face any difficulty on these, because these are very advanced tools, please do let me know. And tomorrow we will cover more of sculpting part of the cloth works, as well as few more advanced options. And on the final 6 days, we will start with a new model from scratch, and by the 6th day, we will convert the drawings of that model onto layout. And we are expecting that you will also work along with me on the final assignment. And before that, please complete all the previous assignments and submit them to me as soon as they are done, so that I can give my comments on your work, whether you are going in the right direction or not. So thank you, and I'll see you all tomorrow.